I couldn't make it, and they asked me to record it. So good, you know, this is our model here. This is the plastic one. Now, this is the point of interest right now. This area. So this is the cheekbone, and see how big of a gap there's there. You can stick 2 fingers in there. See, and so you see it here. See there. That's what a big gap that is. So that's what I was doing right now when I let you guys in here. So with some white chalk, you just want to do what I did here, like really separate this part. Separate it by putting a lot of white here and creating that sense of depth there that I've got on there with the. I put a little bit of blue, but I also put a little bit of charcoal. Just, I mean, not too much, you know, just to create that sense of depth and space on there.
Sir, so right now you're using, you're not using the pastels just yet, or?
Right now, I'm using this is a white pastel, yeah, the white pastel pencil.
Okay.
And a little bit of blue there, and a little bit of charcoal just to darken it.
Okay.
And also, you see, you want to exaggerate those structures of the skull. I have this other drawing here. These are like a breakdown of the major forms of the face. See this, of course, these you can feel very, very clearly on your forehead, you know. So you really want to exaggerate those by putting some white. And some white here on top of the nasal bones. A little bit of white here. So that, I mean, that's the main thing I wanted for you guys to do on there. See now it looks like it's you know, projecting forward, you know, this whole apparatus here. I wouldn't shade. I mean, this is, of course, is going to be at this point it's a cavity, right? It's a big hole there, but I don't want to shade it with charcoal or pastel because I'm going to build on top of that. I'm going to build the nose, you know, the cartilage and all those other parts. So I don't want to build up too much pastel dust on there. You know, just a little bit of white pastel here. And then let me just look at the side view. Let me move this a little bit here. So that, yeah, this, you gotta make sure you made this correction here. And also on this side, see again that, so I'm gonna put a little bit of charcoal in here to create that depth. To create distance from that zygomatic arch. Also, at this point, I should just outline a little bit more clearly the different bones of the skull. See this right here? That is this portion right here. See, that makes up the eye socket. The upper part of the eye socket, it kind of follows this general outline here. And this is the frontal bone. And it goes somewhere like around here. Even though the cranium is like a sphere, it's round. When you look at these bones separately, they're somewhat flat. See, that is that's the frontal bone. I mean, it's kind of hard to, because I've got to look at this from an angle, so it might be a little bit crooked over here. But I would imagine that they're not perfectly symmetrical even on each individual, you know. See, right now I'm using charcoal. This is a very nice charcoal pencil. There's nothing like charcoal to get a dark value. Right? So that's that right there is outlining the frontal bone. Then you've got I kind of lost them here, the nasal bones. And I went over it with the white. And I would recommend, like what I did here, you know, start to map out a face so you kind of have a good idea as to how far we're going to build the muscle, especially down here on the neck. And next to that, even though this, you know, this tail here is, it seems like this will be one bone, but this is actually two. This kind of breaks up right around this area here. And so that one, its boundary, this is that zygomatic bone. And you'll see that when we put the different muscles, you know, one muscle attaches here, one attaches here. They all have different origins and attachments. And remember this, there's a line going down the middle here, and that gives you the not the mandible, but the maxilla. There's two of those. And there's the boundary of that, of the maxilla is up here. Somewhere up there. It's always with a lot of reluctance that I fill in these drawings of the skull with muscles. See, like now I'm adding more to them, and they're looking better, more interesting. Now on the side here, I wanna use some pastel. You know, you have these structures, and that's what I'm gonna shade that in. Not shade it in, but highlight it, which is the opposite of shading it. So this portion really projects from the cranium. Then it leaves like a slight racing effect, like a ridge. It's called a ridge that projects a little bit out of the cranium, and you'll see there will be a muscle that fills in, you know, this gap. Then it just kind of disappears. Do something like this here. And I think about last time in class, I kind of mapped out. See this? Erase this. See, most of the bones on the skull they're broken up into pairs, except this one here. This one goes from one side of the skull to the other. This is the sphenoid. It goes from, you know, from this side onto this side. I mean, it could be more accurate. You can spend a whole day just drawing each one of those. And on this side, you would probably see something, you know, like a portion like something like this here. Now I'm going to darken this line to indicate that's forward. It's in front of that, and it's, you know, something like this. So that's the sphenoid, and then right next to it, it's the temporal bone. So this portion, you know, you've got that zygomatic arch. This tail portion is actually connected to the temporal bone. And we're doing these drawings where you're looking at what I'm doing, and I posted some photos of the skeleton of the skull. But you want to come into the drawing room one day and like look at the plastic skeletons, so you can get a better, you know, 3D feel for them. You know how they're actually structured. This is the auditory meatus, which is the ear canal. So this portion attaches to the temporal bone, and then this kind of comes down. Something like this. So that's a temporal bone. And then from here, this right here is the parietal bone. There's two of them. Now I just kind of made boundaries, right? Like I outlined them, but they have sutures. You know, they have this kind of. Can you see this? I can't see it. They do kind of this, like little interlocking fingers. So they're held, you know, very tight, you know, very securely fastened together. This is the way that you would see in there in between. But just to simplify the boundaries. And I want to add a little bit of shading here. Again, to push that in just a little bit. And the first thing that we'll do, and the first thing I think the first thing I always do is the eyeball. Put in the eyeballs. And also here, put a little bit of white to bring that out. A bit of white here on the nasal bones right there. And as I had mentioned, this is the mandible. It should come, this portion of the mandible should come right here, right to this point here. You should not have too much space between this portion of the mandible and the tail portion of this psychomatic bone here. And then this, you want to put a little bit of highlight on this. This is the mastoid process. So kind of projects out. And also see, like I had this ridge. There's this, it's called the nuchal ridge here as well here. And then this is the nuchal notch. That creates a dimple. If you shave your head, you can see this dimple in the back of your head. And you see, like all this gets filled with muscles. And this will be just blur it in there with my finger. All right, so I mean, those are the basic structures that I wanted you guys to be aware of, you know. So we're gonna go look at work on the eye. I'm gonna move over to this one so I have a better view. So at this point, you know, if you like your drawings of the skull, you want to take a picture. We're gonna cover them up with muscles. So I'm gonna take a picture. You guys have any questions? All right. Now, the eye, we're gonna put the eye in here. It'll make this look really weird and creepy. And then, I like to do that because those are set in, and then we can build, the muscles and overlap the eyeballs because they're overlapped by the eyelids, which are part of the muscles that go over the eye sockets. What did I want to say? So let me draw. I always like to do this, like zoom in a little bit more. Good close up there. The eye. You want to make these drawings also next to your drawings there. The eye is this little diagrams that I draw here. So this is the the eyeball. And well, actually, because I've got these two views, right? So the eyeball. This is the side view. You want to make a note of this, it's exaggerated. What I've done here is exaggerated. But see, this is the eyeball, and then it projects out of the eyeball. This projects out. So what do you think this is? If this is a side view.
The iris?
Yeah, the iris. The iris projects out. And so that projects out, right? So the iris is like its own little thing, it has its own structure. And I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this here. I always like to do this with blue or with green. The iris is you want to think of it like a crystal ball, or like a glass, like a marble. Very much like glass, right? So, but of course, this is a very big. The iris is what has the color. Let me get another blue here. Get a lighter blue. So when you have when you look at glass or like a marble or a crystal ball, you're gonna get a highlight, right? Get a highlight. That's where the light is hitting it. Depending what direction the light is, from this side or this side, and then it goes through it. The light goes through it, and it does this. It kind of bounces off the back. And that's what you see on your eyes. Now, of course, this one is not as bright as this one because it's in the back of the crystal. So let's say that that's a glass ball or a crystal ball or a marble, And then what you have to add on onto this is the pupil, right? The pupil is what opens up to let in more light, so we can see in a dim space, right? So now I'm just using charcoal, like a black charcoal. See, so there you have the eyeball, you have the iris with the pupil. So you want to think of it like that. You want to, that highlight, which is, I usually put that at the very end when I paint a portrait or a drawing. And it just makes the eye look so much more alive. And then a little bit of light here. And then when you have, then of course this gets overlapped by the eyelid, right? And it creates a little bit of a shadow up here. So you end up with this kind of effect. And see, it makes it that shadow gives space to this little highlight here. Makes it look like it's floating. And then if you just want a little bit more color, you can put a little bit of yellow here, just to make it more interesting. All right, so that is that's what's happening here in this projection out of the eyeball. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put the eyeballs on this guy. Now, of course, they're not gonna fill in the whole space, but something like this. Now I might have to later on. I might have to make some adjustments, right? And this time you don't have to block it. You can just do this kind of deal. So you gotta leave a space there, and then see this is gonna give you the corners of the mouth, right, when you bring this down. So you look at the mouth here, you look at the teeth, that's approximately where you're gonna have the corners of the mouth to help you get the center of where you're gonna place the eyeball. Now I don't have any references. I'm doing this from just out of my head. The eyeball here. So I don't know if this might end up a little too small, but I think this will work out. Right. So that's looking very creepy now. And then I'm gonna put on. Now I'm gonna put I have brown eyes, so I'm gonna put my eyes on here, remember, because I'm going to build my portrait on top of this. All right, looks not looking like me yet, but I don't think so. Now look on. I'm gonna go to the side view, and I'm gonna put in here. You want to keep in mind, right, that the eyeball is behind the edge of the eye socket, because it protects. Like if you get hit with a stick or you get punched on the face, you're not gonna your and you get poked on the eye. But if you get punched on the eye with a fist, it's not gonna hit your eyeball because it's protected by the eye socket, by the boundaries of the eye socket. So put that in there. Let me make it a little. I'm gonna just switch here to the graphite because the charcoal's a little too dark. And see what I'm adding on is what I had done here, you know, to the iris projecting outward. And come back to this one. So I'm going to use a little bit of this, like a burnt sienna. Now, one thing you want to remember, I'm going to use white, but it's probably going to get mixed up with a little bit of the charcoal here. And the eyeball is never going to be just that chalky white of, it's always going to have a little bit of color. So this is very appropriate right now for Halloween. And also let's put some over here. I put some on the on the side view.
Oh, sir,
Yes.
what color did you use for the pupils?
This is what if you have. I'm just trying to remember. Like I've got brown eye, right? So I'm using this brown.
Oh, okay.
So like
Okay.
a reddish brown. But I'll darken it a little bit.
Yeah, I was wondering because I also have like brown eyes, so I'm trying to like, you know, follow step by step.
Yeah, I'll go back with it because now they look too red, you know. And remember, you want to put the highlight.
Are those pencil colors or pastels?
These are pastel pencils.
Pastel pencils. Oh.
Yeah. So it's it's pretty much it's pastel because they're a lot softer than colored pencils. That made it really creepy. Now it's very red, right? So or orangey, orange looking. So if I want to put, there's one thing with color, sometimes you want to play with your complements. I'm doing the pupil with blue. And that highlight, kind of covers up a little bit of the pupil. That looks pretty creepy. And well, I'm using, because it was very bright, the orange. So if I go over it with the blue a little bit, it will tone it down. It's the complement, so it'll make it more brown. There. That looks, I like how that looks. What do you guys think?
Very creepy.
Very creepy, huh? Okay. So that's what I would recommend. Like, if you used a very orange looking brown, then just go right with a little bit of blue. And even if you have black, like very dark eyes, there has to be some color in there. Like black, if you use charcoal, it's just gonna make it look like a hole. That's why I didn't want to put charcoal in there. It's more lively when you have some kind of color on there. And see, this is like what color is this? Kind of like vanilla ice cream color. A little bit of color there. I can make the highlight even brighter. The thing with pastels, it's really hard to keep them sharp, even these pencils. Turns out. And of course, on the side view, we don't see that much of the. We don't see much. All right, so there we've got the eyeballs, and we've got the eyeballs on this guy. So we will do the move on to the anatomy, another deeper muscle or deeper structure that then we can keep building on top of. So we'll do the frontalis. Let me show you a whole bunch of anatomy. I got this notes. And I've got this ones. We're gonna do this muscles. The frontalis. It's two, there's symmetrical one on either side, but there it's broken up into two forms. See, it has FM and FL. It's frontalis medialis, frontalis lateralis. So you just want to keep that in mind with muscle. I guess as we move on to anatomy of the figure later on, there'll be a lot of muscles that have two shapes or two forms. One that is closer to the center line. You can imagine there's like that vertical axis. Anything that's closer is medial. Anything that is farther away is lateral. But this is the frontalis. So it has two sections. And like I said, I'm gonna try and keep the muscles looking realistic. You know, I'm gonna use a lot of brown, a lot of reds, and combinations of those. Before I do that, I don't want to lose this. We get a lot of highlights right there on the brow. Let me show you. I think I have one of my photographs. Let's see. So this is my brow, and I see part of this is muscles, and it's as we move down on the anatomy, these muscles right here. I'll give you the names later, but yeah, you know, there's gonna be those highlights right there. That's what I don't want to lose just yet here. And see how I'm shading, like little, emphasizing that there's like two of these right here. 1 and 2. I also have this gray pastel. Let's see what it does. I've never to create it, because this is like an underplane. Right? That's pretty cool. Very subtle gray. Maybe too subtle. I would like to use a little bit of blue. I've never used this much color. I'm just gonna put a little bit of blue there to create that shade right there. And remember this, that part, like if I run my finger, not over the photo, but over my actual face, this projects forward and that goes in. So you don't want to lose sight of that. A lot of students, when they draw this part of the face, it like this connects with a straight. They make it like this connects with a straight line to the top of the nose. But no, there's like an underplane that goes under. And you just gotta, you just gotta feel your own face and make these discoveries. See that shadow there creates a lot of nice depth. White here to bring out the nasal bones. All right, so I'm going to sketch out. I'm going to use the same. I think this is the same. Maybe, yeah, it's the same red, the same brown that I was using. So you want to divide this muscle in half. And it's gonna fan out. And I mean, if you feel this area of your forehead, you know that this is a very thin muscle. And you see this boundaries that I had created, it doesn't go over this, it stays within these boundaries. And this is the brow. It does go a little bit over the brow like this. And then you want to break it up into its two portions. Now the rest of this is, there's also what is ligament, like a very tough, very thin tissue that connects the muscles to the bones. And I'm gonna do this kind of a stroke here to suggest the way that the fibers of this muscle grow. I'll come back and redefine the two different portions of this muscle. So this is the frontalis. And even though it comes over the brow, it's even thinner here. This is where you're more likely to see it, or where it will be, a little bit thicker. And we all have all these muscles, but on some people they're more prominent than other people. I had this person asked me wanted me to do a portrait of him, and I knew, I was looking at him and looking at some photos I had taken, and he had these two forms very prominent. More so than in anybody else I had seen. See, I'm trying to make them look, look like, like an anatomy book. Now, when I got this color, it's like a reddish, like a red orange, I believe. And along this area, this is to emphasize those separations. And every once in a while, like I'll use my fingers, right, to blend. But I think pastel, it looks much better when you build it up. When you build up the pigment, than when you smear it across just to cover up. And a little bit of orange, why not? Try out these expensive pastels. I think it's looking pretty good. And instead of white, I'm going to use this vanilla looking color. So like a yellow. And this muscle, of course, makes you lift your eyebrows. So the muscles of the face, of course, they allow a big part of their purpose is for communicating. Now, I mean, just of course, the muscles of the around the mouth and the cheeks, they help in opening and closing our mouths. But just think about how much communication we do with just facial gestures, nonverbal communication. That is one of the purposes of all these muscles as well. So I think that looks pretty interesting there. That looks pretty good. And then just to create the effect that there's this ligament going to the back of the head. I wanted to do this because I think you guys needed a break from just black and white. And even myself, just doing this is fun, using these colors. From all this shading. And I'll put a little bit of white here. A little bit of white here. So that is the frontalis. You want to look at the actual spelling. You want to look at what I posted there on Blackboard. And I do want to outline it a little bit more so that its boundaries are a little bit more clear. It's going over the brow, remember, but it's here, it's very thin. Okay, now the next one is the well, how are we doing on time here? All right. Well, yeah, I forget that we have the side view. Just move the camera a little bit. So on this, from this view, the top plane of the brow here. And like I had said, this muscle goes over this part. And see a little bit of the medial portion. Some of this yellow. I'm gonna try and stay away from using green on these muscles because it makes it look like a bruise or like the muscle is rotting. Makes it look kind of nasty. And just a little bit of the outline here. This is a skull. Some of this yellow to create the effect of the ligament. And also that in regards to the structure of the forehead, there's usually like some highlights on this area here. There's some kind of projections, just like higher areas on the forehead around that area on here. There's some lines going back and forth to simulate the fibers of the muscle. Okay, so that's the frontalis front and side view. So we'll move on to the area around the eyes, around the eyeballs. And you see this here. What I've got here, most muscles there, they run, vertically, right? Or horizontally, they're fibers. These, the muscles that go around the eye, they move the eyelids. Now, there's a lot more. I'm going to give you just like the basic muscles that we deal with when we draw. So this muscle is it's called the Orbicularis Oculi. It's the same type of muscle. It's kind of like the fibers go almost like in a circle. Same type of muscle that goes on the mouth. But there's a muscle that within this, there's a muscle that picks up the eyelid, and there's another one that lowers the bottom eyelid. There's a lot more muscles than there, but they're too interwoven with other muscles that it'd be like a biological illustration kind of drawing. But that's the one we're gonna do next. And that comes up, it comes up right next to, and look, I'm going to, at this point, I'm going to put my, like the outline of my own eye in there. I'm gonna use blue to do this. I have my own eye. Right.
Should we all do the same as well, like do an outline of our own eye?
I would say so, yes.
Okay.
If you have the photo ready. See that the upper eyelid is gonna go over the iris. That's what created that shadow here. It also covers part of the bottom here of the iris. Now here's where the difference is, because I'm doing my own eye. I mean, I'm getting older, so like this is starting to come lower on my eye. But even when I was younger, this was very prominent. This part of the orbicularis. Some of you, I mean, all of you are like you're in your early 20s, so you probably don't have this effect. But see, I'm trying there to do draw the outline of my eye. You know what? Let me take a picture before I cover this in more detail. And then this muscle, so that's my eye, right? That's the outline of my eye according to this photograph. But with this blue, I should zoom in on this. Move this closer. I think it's already looking like the boundary of the Orbicularis Oculi. It goes, almost right up to the boundary of the Frontalis here. Over the brow, but we're very thin here. And this is, you see, this is the Psychomatic, and this is the Frontal Bone, right? Just like about the middle here. And along the border of the eye socket here. So let me just outline it a little darker. And same thing on this side. So you have this space right along the middle. So look, I'm gonna step away for like a minute. I'll be right back. I'm going. Okay, I'm back. Let's take a little break. So, all right, now I'm going to, I'll do the same thing and try and shape for my other eye. So look, I'm gonna use these. This is not pastel. This is a Conte pencil. So this is a little bit harder. But I want to show you the way that these fibers look. So they do this. See, like from this corner of the eye and the tear duct, these do this kind of deal. You see? And the bottom ones do the opposite. But see, this muscle is entirely protected by the eye socket. So everything in here has to be, has to look like it's sunken into the face. So that's how this muscle goes. The top portion.
Sir, are you using like an orange pastel or?
Yeah, this is a Conte pencil, but it is like, it's very similar to this other one here. It's like a red chalk, pretty much.
Because it looks kind of like orange on.
Yeah, it is. See, this one is more orange than this one. See, this is sanguine. They all have different names. They're all slightly different. I love brown colors. I love all different shades of brown. But yet, this one is a little bit warmer.
So should we be using like orange as well, or?
You can use red, anything that will help you make this look more realistic. I used to do this with very bright colors. But it looks kind of weird, like I don't know, like this, like the greens, and eventually I'll move to other colors. I can only, then becomes harder to differentiate because some of the, like in this area there's a lot of space still. But when the muscles start to get closer together and to differentiate them, I'll start to use different colors. You see that, like at the chin, there's a lot of muscles right next to each other that create like a weave pattern, and that's where I gotta, save the colors for those.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna use some this color, like a peach. So like in my case, let me outline here my upper eyelid. And this overlaps a lot of it. Something on this side. Let me just try this color here to bring out some of the highlight here. Of the upper eyelid, like I said, see this is starting to fold, the skin is starting to fold over. So we just see a little bit on, I would imagine on you guys, you see more. But under this, under the skin, you have that Articularis Oculi. That's what I'm trying to describe the fibers of it. It's not that's easy. Again, just following the fibers of this muscle here. Remember this, what it does on the top here, and the bottom. I'm gonna get some white because I don't want to lose the brow. Remember this up here still the major form is the brow, the bone, pretty much. And even down here, like this blue line, remember, was the boundary of the Orbicularis Oculi. But now I'm gonna use this other brown that is a little bit darker to create some shading here to create my portrait. Now I don't think I have big eyes. I think right now they look big on the skull because that's all there is. But once I add the cheeks and all the beard, everything, it'll look, it should look more like me. And a little bit of red here for the tear ducts. So there's a little bit of white. And I want to also, you know, the eyelids have a thickness to them, right? So I'm gonna try and describe that, and also put some eyelashes. And see, the white of the eye might be too white, so I'm gonna push them in with a little bit of, I like using blue, using the temperature. That pushes them in. Now, to create that, you can see on the photo, you see a little bit of that thickness there of the eyelid. So that's overlapping the iris. Same on this side. And then the top, I'm using a dark brown here. I need to redefine the drawing. All right, I think this is looking good now. Now, like I mentioned, right? In my case, I've got the skin folding over, but on you guys, because you're younger, right on top of the iris, on the eyelid, like up here, there should be a highlight. Depending where the iris moves, you know, as you look to the side, there will be a little highlight on the upper eyelid. And so those are little details that you can add when you're making a portrait drawing or a portrait painting. I'm gonna minimize the highlight. Okay, there. I think that's good for now. Let me see a little bit of pink. And it'll start to look more accurate, more realistic. Of course, it's still missing the eyebrows. Now I'm using white, kind of blending all this, and making the eyes more like my own eyes. Now, a little bit of eyelashes. And a little bit of blue here to create that shadow. All right. Let's see. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I gotta do the side eye. So I'm gonna map it out again, just the boundary here of the orbicularis. The upper eyelid, the lower eyelid. And then with the red, with the orange brown here, just to show the way that the fibers grow. put some blue on the inside of on the white of the eye. And in my case, yeah, on the side view, the corner of my eye gets covered up by the skin coming in on top of the upper eyelid. That's what that is there. And we all have, these are gonna be different on everybody. And just to push the tear duct a little bit into the face, I'm gonna use some blue there. So in my case, this is all I see. And then there's some eyelashes, make them blue for now. To create that contrast with the orange that I used. And I'll use some pink here. But this is the side view here of the Orbicularis Oculi. Don't forget, this is in this, from this angle, this bone, Psychomatic Bone here. How are you guys doing? You're still there? Okay. That is, and well, it's good also that I have this view because I want to put in the temporal muscle, which is, see on this drawing here, you can see I've got this diagram here. Where it's called it's called the temporalis. This blue here, you see this blue? And I've got the diagram of it here, this other little drawing. It's called the temporalis because it goes over the temporal bone. So it's a good thing we have this view here. Now, before I do that, let me sharpen my white. Whereas the white always runs out the quickest. And of course, you can't sharpen these pastel pencils too much. Not the way that I like to, because they'll break. They're not as firm as graphite. I just want to bring out this structure out a little bit more. So this muscle, the temporalis, it's gonna fill up pretty much all this space here, right? And it's gonna attach to the mandible, but it's gonna attach to this portion right here. I don't want to lose this portion here. Bring in more white. So look, like I said, remember this is used by the temporalis to grab onto. You want to think of this area like if you're climbing, like if this is a mountain, if you're trying to climb, this would be a great place to to hold on to. So that's where the muscle, the temporalis, attaches to. Now let me do see, it goes behind, this tail portion of the zygomatic here. And this is the boundary pretty much, right? This is the temporal, but it goes over it. And it fills up all this space here. And this you can see when you're chewing. You see this bone this muscle very clearly when you're chewing. And this portion down here, this is the attachment. So this is like what's up here, like ligament, right? So I'm gonna color this with this yellow. And now this comes up right on top of the bone. This fills in all this cavity, this hole that we had here. You see on this little sketch here, I have, you can see the where it is the ligament portion and then the actual muscle portion. So I'll try and recreate that here on this view. And it's a pretty thick muscle here. So I'm gonna try and build this. Oh, with pastel to really get it opaque, you gotta use white. I put white here. Put some white. Just so we can cover up the paper better. I'm just trying to put a layer of white pastel here. So this is a temporalis. See from where I had the yellow, I'm doing upward strokes. And then from up here from the ridge. And then also some of this over the yellow. Just to indicate how tightly fitting it is. Remember, you want to keep up with all these muscles on the check at the end of the class. Make sure you have this attachment. It goes, the mandible has these two parts here. Goes to the one that is more frontal. See, now you're using white to kind of blend it all together. Gives it a nice realistic effect. I might have gone a little too much. Maybe it's a little bit shorter. Maybe like around there. Let me erase it, I think. I'll check my anatomy books after class, but I think I might have made it a little too big here. Something like that. Yeah, I think this is more like. And then you don't want to forget all this is kind of like underneath. Take an update on the drawing here. Okay, now I'll do the front view. In the front view, the attachment gets pretty much covered up by this part of the skull. We're just gonna fill it in here. So I will put in a little bit of white like I did before. To give it opacity. Then I'll use pink. See, I don't want to lose this. That is the point of attachment there. And then on this side as well. I'll go back and put some more white. Then remember the yellow here. And see, now I'm seeing, like, I think the skull here is a little wider on this side. I'm gonna take some of this off. Make this correction at this point. And I'll come back with this, with the red chalk. So this is the temporalis. So now it's getting more filled in, so it becomes more round. And that is angular. Now this muscle pairs up with the muscle that is attached to the mandible, right? So this pulls up, it pulls up the mandible. So it has its partner, you might want to say, which is it's the cheek, the muscle that makes up most of the cheek, right? But it's called the masseter. So that's the one we're gonna do next. But before I do it, I want to just I want to take a look at the skull here and define this a little bit better. Let's move down here. Now the masseter is going to go behind this outline. It's going to fill in this space. So this is just some charcoal I'm using here. And see this muscle, I'll show you my notes here. See this one right, let me fix this one, that's the masseter. And we can make out, it has two portions, it has one that is deeper, one that is more superficial. But see, the one that is more superficial attaches, you see this division here? It attaches to this muscle, to this bone. So you want to make sure you indicate, you know, this separation from the maxilla and then the zygomatic, because that's going to determine where the masseter attaches. So let me ask you guys, I'm sure you guys eat barbacoa on the weekends, right? What two types of barbacoa are there?
The tongue, where you eat like the tongue of the cow.
Okay, it's the lengua and what else?
El cachete?
Cachete, exactly. So this is like this muscle, the masseter, that's what you're eating when you're eating the barbacoa de cachete. And of course, the cows have a huge head and they're chewing all day. So they have a very big cachete muscle, you know. It's also very tough. That's like it's very soft in barbacoa because they cook it for hours. But any muscle that has a lot of that is used a lot, when you eat it, of course, it's going to be very tough. But yeah, that is the muscle that we're going to be drawing. It is the one that makes up the barbacoa de cachete. It's pretty interesting. Like, you know, you look at animals and they have exactly the same muscles we have, but of course they're just like longer or larger. It's kind of unsettling at times. Well, what time is it? We have time for this muscle. So look, I've got this this kind of magenta looking color, and I'm it's gonna fill up the masseter is gonna fill up all this space here. But see, make sure that you follow this border between zygomatic and the maxilla. Let me take a picture like how that looks. A little bit of white. These pastel pencils, they're a lot harder than I expected. The softer ones make the, of course, the shading and the coloring a lot easier. Maybe a little bit of purple here. Just see, this outline is farther away than it's either than this here. Because it has like a front plane and then a side plane. That's what I'm trying to describe. And its fibers run up and down like this. See, now he's looking more round, more like Vena. So I'm putting this white here to show that this is more front facing than this more violet looking one. And maybe a little bit of red, because I haven't used red. See, now it's more of the oval egg shape now. Now the side view. I'll just do the side view and we're done. So it uses up all this space here. Goes all the way under. It overlaps. This is the more superficial portion. And then there's that deeper portion there.
Sir,
Yes.
I was wondering, are you gonna like maybe upload like some updated pictures of like the skull with like the muscle and everything?
I
So-
can, yeah, like the ones I've been taking.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can, I'll upload, I'll put those up, yeah.
yeah, because like I'm catching up with some stuff, but you know, then like you move on to the next stuff and I can't you know.
Oh, yeah, yeah, no problem. I'll upload.
All right, thanks.
So that is, that's the mass that are there now. The side view. Making this one a little, this portion a little lighter than that portion there. It's a very nice purple color. Violet. A little bit of blue there. Maybe a little bit of yellow there. So I think overall, I'm liking how this is going. And that's the last muscle we're gonna do. Let's see. Now we're pretty close here to 4:30. So I think what would be easier is you guys take a picture and upload it to your blog, and then I can check it later. So I think some of you might have to go somewhere. So yeah, just take a picture of your progress today and upload it to your blog, and I'll check it later tonight. And of course, it'll have it will have the time that it was updated. And so we'll do that. I think, so if you guys don't have any questions, you guys are dismissed. I'll stay here for a few more minutes if you want to talk about anything. But yeah, we'll keep working on this on Thursday, and I think this probably will spill on to next Tuesday also. Because we still need a lot of we need
Sure, I
the
have a
nose,
question.
the neck. Yes.
So for the weekend we don't have to do homework on the anatomy, just have to do the one that you showed us, right?
Yes, the one that I posted, the Belvedere torso.
Okay.
And yeah, because I think if I assign you too much, then it's just the quality diminishes. And yeah,
Okay, sir. Thank you.
all right, no problem. So yeah, like I said, you guys are dismissed. You just have to upload a picture of your progress of the anatomy to your blog. And if you have any questions up to this point, I'll be here for a little bit.
Sir, I want
Yes.
to ask, what kind of pencils do you recommend?
For this, I would recommend some pastel pencils.
Yeah, but like the brand, like if
Okay,
you have
yeah.
any like suggestions about.
Yeah, look, this, if you can't get, I mean, you can just use pastel. Like for years, I would do these demos with these.
Okay.
A new pastel. They're hard pastels. But then like just recently, I started like I got that pack of the Conte. I think they're pretty nice overall. They're, if you want to do more, just more pastels on your phone. Well, this is the cover, but it's either Conte, Paris.
Okay.
I think this pack was probably like $60, but I think they have smaller. But I think it's, I don't know. Look at the nice color. Like if you want to do pastels, I would invest on it. Can ask.
But they have to be pencil, right? Because the ones that I have right now are like los gruesos. I don't know.
Oh yeah, there's some pastels that are very thick, and then it becomes very hard to do detail.
Yeah, that's what I. So I'm kind
the
of like
very
just doing like
soft-
suggestions on my drawings. So.
You want to show me?
Yeah, sure.
I can take a look right now. Let me.
Just I don't know. Can you see?
Yeah. Well, yeah, the skull looks good. It's the I mean, you've got the muscles on there, but you want to add more detail, right?
Yeah.
I would recommend also like a lot of the line work I've been doing on this is with the pastel with these pencils right here. Look,
Okay.
so if you can, I have a whole bunch of these things. If you want one of these pencils, I mean the school bought them for me. If you want, stop by and I can give you one.
All right.
Yeah, or you can just go buy one.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, no problem. Okay, guys, I'm gonna end the meeting and I'll see you on Thursday.